Hi children, how are you? So, welcome to my 9th standard chapter tissues, and this is the last session. So, let us see what all we studied in the previous sessions. So, in the previous sessions we studied about unicellular organisms, tissues, plant and animal tissues, plant tissues like meristematic, parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma tissues. In the second session we studied about characteristic features of simple permanent tissues like epidermis and complex permanent tissues like xylem and phloem and their special features. In the third session we studied about the characteristic features of animal tissues like epithelial tissue and muscular tissue and other special features. Today in this session we will be studying about the characteristic features of animal tissues like connective tissues and nervous tissues and their special features. So, welcome to this session of mine. Now, here in the animal tissue, let us see what all we will be studying today. So, first is the connective tissue. Next in that connective tissue, we will be studying about dense connective tissue, loose connective tissue, and finally the fluid connective tissue. And along with that, today we will be studying another tissue, that is the nervous tissue. So, let us jump into our topic and see what we have to study. Now, the first thing is you should know that animal tissues are highly complex because their level of organization has gone to organ and organ systems. So, their complexity is very high compared to the plant tissues. So, what happens in these tissues? Connective tissue we will see first. As the name itself suggests, connective tissue, it connects different organs, different parts, different tissues, etc. Now here you have the diagram of loose connective tissue. I have taken a section of the stomach. So in the stomach you find the outermost layer you call smooth muscle tissue, and the innermost layer you find the columnar epithelium. In between you find this loose connective tissue. So between the smooth muscles and the columnar muscles you find this loose connective tissue, which means that it's acting as a binding tissue. It arranges itself between different tissues and provides support to the body. So this is a binding tissue. It connects various other tissues. So I hope you understood this tissue. Here is one more example. Inside you find epithelial tissue, outside you find smooth muscles, in between that you find this connective tissue. So it is connecting epithelium to the muscles. So like this, connective tissue connects various parts of the body. Based on the type of matrix present, connective tissue is basically of three types. One is the loose connective tissue, next is the dense connective tissue, and finally the fluid connective tissue. So we will see what is this matrix also. We will also see what are these meant: loose connective, dense connective and fluid connective tissue. So if you look at this loose connective tissue, what it means is the substances present are slightly far away from each other. There are lots of gaps in this tissue. So it is called as loose connective tissue, and the substance in which all other substances are present, you call it as matrix. So here you find lot of thread-like structures, you call them as fibers. So it is loosely arranged. Usually the fibers that are present are collagen fibers, and you can find Y-shaped thread-like structures, you call them as elastic fibers. They are made up of protein. Collagen is made up of hard cement-like structure. So this is loose connective tissue. In this tissue you find areolar tissue, adipose tissue and the reticular tissue. So let us study each one of them in detail. So first one, what is this matrix? So matrix has several materials present in it. One is several non-living materials are present, like the fluid, some chemicals, some hormones, some enzymes, etc. Next you find those thread-like structures which I already told you, you call them as fibers. I told you there are two types of fibers. One is the elastic fibers and another one is the non-elastic or the collagen fibers, and also you find cells present in it. These cells are nothing but they produce either the matrix or they produce the fibers. So they are such types of cells present. Now first we will come to the dense matrix. Here the matrix is solidified. What do you see here? Yes, the skeletal system, that is the bones. The matrix is very hard mainly because it is made up of collagen fibers which acts like a cement material. So it has to be very strong. That is why the matrix is dense or solid in nature. So we find tendons also in this. Next we will find if the matrix is fluid in nature, like blood present here, that time it is called as fluid connective tissue. Next, if it is loose connective tissue, the cells are loosely arranged and there are lots of gaps here. This is basically an example for areolar connective tissue. As the name itself suggests, lot of gaps are present filled with air inside it. So gaseous exchange will be taking place. The toxins are being digested in this place. Lots of repair work will be taking place in this place. So this is areolar tissue. Next, if you come to the fluid connective tissue, you find the blood and also the lymph. So wherever there are interstitial spaces, that means wherever there are gaps between the cells, you find the lymph present, and the blood is present always in the blood vessels. So this is fluid connective tissue. This is basically the transport system, that is the blood. You can see the RBC, it is moving, it is carrying respiratory gases like carbon dioxide and oxygen to various parts of the body. So let us see the various components of the blood. So first is the blood plasma, next is the RBC or the red blood cells, next is the white blood cells or the WBC, and next the platelets. Let us study each one of them. So here you can see the plasma present. This plasma will carry many substances in it. Let us see what are the substances it carries. It usually carries the digested food. It carries the hormones. It carries the enzymes. It carries the salts or the electrolytes. It carries the waste materials like urea, uric acid, etc. So all these substances are transported by plasma. Not only that, it helps in osmoregulation, maintaining the body temperature, electrolytic balance. All this is done by plasma. Next we will see the platelets present here. These platelets mainly help in controlling the bleeding of blood. They help in clotting of blood. So if there is a cut or an injury, these platelets will see to it that the blood clots and the bleeding is stopped. So this is about the platelets. Next, if you look at the RBC, as the name itself suggests, it is red in color. You can see the structure here. It is concave in nature and it doesn't have a nucleus when it is mature. And what does it do? It carries respiratory gases like carbon dioxide and oxygen, because the red colored pigment called hemoglobin, it absorbs these gases and transports from the lungs to various parts of the body and from various parts of the body to the lungs. And all these are supported by the heart, which is a pumping organ. So that is about the RBC, which contains hemoglobin. I hope you understood that. Next we will come to the WBC or the white blood cells. Comparatively they are smaller in number. They are the antibodies, which they are the cells which help in protecting our body from disease causing pathogens. So basically these WBCs are of two types. One is lymphocytes, another one phagocytes. These lymphocytes, you can see them, the nucleus you can see it is lobed. These WBC will produce some substances which kill the pathogens like bacteria, virus, etc. You can see its action here. See, it is destroying the bacteria. So these are lymphocytes. So the yellow colored substances which are moving are nothing but the bacteria. So this is the action of the lymphocytes. Next we will see phagocytes. These phagocytes, there is a cut in the skin, so there are chances of bacteria entering. Here I have shown you an yellow particle which is nothing but the bacteria. So what has happened, this WBC has swallowed this bacteria and then it has started releasing some enzymes and chemicals such that it slowly dissolves and destroys the bacteria. See there, slowly it gets destroyed. Yes, the bacteria is destroyed. So this is the action of phagocytes. Next we will see about the lymph. Lymph is mainly present in the interstitial spaces or the spaces between the cells. They are also mainly functioning in protecting the body from disease causing organisms. Now if you look at the lymph here, you can see it is made up of lymph glands, lymph nodes and the lymph ducts. Through the lymphatic ducts, the fluid called lymph will be moving. These lymph ducts which contains the lymph, actually they are colorless, that is because the RBC and WBC are absent in it, and then next they help in the defense mechanism, and also they don't contain macroproteins or the big sized proteins. So basically the difference between the blood and the lymph is this. So the lymph does not contain the cells, blood cells like RBC and WBC, and it doesn't contain huge or big sized proteins in them. So this is about lymph. Next we will see about another connective tissue, that is the tendons. These tendons are collagen fibered, or they are hard and they are present between two muscles. So these tendons are present between two muscles and they give the support to those muscles, and they are having limited flexibility, the movement is limited. Okay, so that is about tendons. Now let's look at these ligaments. So ligaments are usually present between two bones. So they are basically made up of elastic fibers, so they are slightly flexible in nature. For example, basically slightly flexible in nature. So that is about these tendons and ligaments. And next you find another type of dense tissue, that is cartilage. It is not like bone but slightly flexible in nature. So let us see where it is present. It is present in the vocal cords. You can sense the vibration, that is mainly because it has cartilaginous bone. Where else it is present? So it is present in the epiglottis region. If you open your mouth, you can see a small structure, you call it as epiglottis. Then you find in the outer ear. Next you also find in the bronchus. So the C-shaped cartilaginous bone, that is also made up of cartilage. It is slightly flexible in nature. Not only that, it is present in the respiratory tract like bronchus, bronchiole, etc. Next, what does this cartilage help in? They help in bending, stretching, This part I can bend, you can see. Even it is present here in the nose tip. So here also it is present. In between the vertebral column bones, it is present. And in between the rib cage, it is present. So limited movements can be possible because of this cartilaginous bone. Now, if you look at the dense connective tissue, which is very hard, that is the skeletal system, it is mainly made up of the bone. So, the skeletal system, it gives internal support to the body, it gives specific shape to the body. Okay. Without this, there is no shape to the body, and it gives protection to many tissues. Not only that, it protects several parts. Now you can see the skull. What is it protecting? Of course, it protects the brain. Next, in the eye sockets, it protects the eyes. It protects the ear. It gives the shape also. Next, nose. It gives the shape. So all these will be, you also find in the rib cage. This rib cage is protecting the heart. Not only heart, it also protects the lungs. So the skeletal system basically helps in protecting various important vital organs and parts in our body. So that is its main function. It gives mechanical support, it protects them, it gives definite shape, it helps in movement. Don't you think it is great? Yes. And not only that, to our vertebral column, it protects the spinal cord. So it protects here. Now what is this bone tissue made up of? This bone tissue is basically made up of collagen fibers, calcium phosphate, several salts like sodium chloride, potassium chloride, magnesium chloride. Along with that, in the center there is a bone marrow. You also find blood vessels and nerves supplying nutrition to the bone. Next, so this is very hard. So these fibers are nothing but the collagen fibers which give strength to the bones. Now let us see the basic difference between bone tissue and the cartilaginous tissue. So the bone tissue you cannot bend. Can you bend your bone here? No. Whereas you can bend the cartilaginous tissue to some extent. Then the bone tissue is made up of collagen fibers, whereas cartilaginous tissue is made up of elastic fibers. Next we will come to the areolar tissue. As the name itself suggests, it has air in it, so it helps in the exchange of respiratory gases. We have talked about it. Next, it is present just beneath the skin. So that's why it helps in exchange of gases. So let us see the functions of areolar tissue. It fills the gaps inside the organs. It provides support inside the organs. Not only that, it repairs several tissues. Next we will come to this adipose tissue. You can see the structure of adipose tissue. The cytoplasm is very less, but it is basically filled with fat cells. So the fats are present in it. So basically these adipose tissues act as storage cells for the fats. So they are compactly arranged and filled with fat. So what does it do? It basically, these fats are meant for emergency situations, especially when the body is not having food. Whenever you have fever, you don't have food much. That time these fats or the reserves which are kept will be used. Not only that, it helps you from shocks. Not only that, it helps in maintaining body temperature. It is just beneath the skin. So whenever there are chills, the sudden surge of blood will be there to maintain the body temperature. It helps in providing protection. So basically it acts as shock absorber. So like this, adipose tissue helps you. Next we will come to the nervous tissue. All the nervous tissue like the brain, spinal cord, nerves, everything is made up of a structural and functional unit, that is the neuron. It is also called as nerve cell. So what are these neurons or the nerve cells? A neuron is the structural and functional unit of nervous tissue. So a neuron is the core component of the brain, spinal cord and peripheral nerves, etc. So what is the structure of neuron? Let us see the structure of neuron. So in the neuron you find a central major structure, you call it as the central body, neural body or the cyton. From that several branches are arising, you call those branches as dendrites. In that one branch is slightly elongated and you call it as axon. This axon is surrounded by several cells, you call them as myelin cells. Now let us see how to draw the structure of a neuron. So that is cyton, so that is the axon, they are the nerve endings, so that is the myelin sheet, so you find the dendrites. So this is how you can draw the structure of neuron. So what is this neuron? What does it do? These neurons mainly send impulses. Here it is reflex action taking place. A person is touching an hot object, immediately he is withdrawing in hand, so it is responding to stimuli. It sends messages in the form of electrical impulses. See here, electrical pulses are moving from one neuron to another neuron. So that is how the messages pass. So a neuron is electrically excitable cell that functions to process and transmit information. Now let us see how to draw a parenchyma tissue. First draw dotted lines and make a circle. Next slightly draw oval shaped cells. It need not be exactly circular. Let it be oval shaped. Let us write a thin cell wall. Then you can draw the nucleus. Then the vacuole. And finally the cytoplasm. So like this you can very easily, within 2 minutes, you can draw the diagram of parenchyma tissue. So my dear children, I hope you understood how to draw the diagrams of parenchyma. Now let us come to some small parts of discussion. Let us see. An animal having more fat in its body experiences less cold or chill. Why? A person who eats more junk food is prone to be fat. Why? Think about it. Next, most important and interesting one, nerve impulses will not move as electric current in a wire. Then, how it moved in nerves? Collect information and discuss with your friends. I want you to do a small activity. Collect the information about ligament tear, slip disc and arthritis, and also what are the reasons for them. Draw the diagrams of bone tissue and label its parts. Next, you can try this out. Take a small piece of bone, put it in a container having vinegar, observe it every 4 hours, record the observation and report your conclusions. Next, it's time to think and answer. How blood and lymph are different? Okay, the answer is lymph is a colorless fluid similar to blood in structure. It differs from blood only in the absence of RBC and some plasma proteins. Next question. The part that protects the spinal cord is? And the answer is vertebral column or the backbone. Next, a small quiz question to you. The tissue that transports respiratory gases to all body parts is blood, lymph, adipose, nervous tissue. Answer is blood. Next question. The structural and functional unit of nervous tissue: brain, spinal cord, nerve, neuron. Yes, answer is neuron. Next question. The fat layer surrounding the axon is nerve ending, myelin sheath, dendrite, cyton or the cell body. Answer is myelin sheath. Next one. The part of neuron having prominent nucleus: nerve ending, myelin sheath, dendrite, cyton or the cell body. The correct answer is cyton or the cell body. Next question. This part protects the spinal cord: skull, rib cage, vertebral column, cyton or cell body. Answer is vertebral column. Very good. Next question. The tissue that helps in avoiding loss of body temperature: areolar, adipose, cartilage, bone. The answer is adipose tissue. So, my dear children, I hope you have understood very well. I want you to study the entire chapter very well. I thank all these people who have helped me to do these videos, etc. material. Thank you. Bye bye. Study well.